Now then, choose 12 men from the tribes of Israel, one for each tribe. And as soon as the priests who carry the ark of the Lord of all the earth, set foot in the Jordan, its waters flowing downstream will be cut off and stand up in a heap. So when the people broke camp to cross the Jordan, the priests carrying the ark of the covenant went ahead of them. Now the Jordan is at flood stage all during harvest. Yet as soon as the priests who carried the ark reached the Jordan and their feet touched the water's edge, the water from upstream stopped flowing. It piled up in a heap a great distance away at a town called Adam in the vicinity of Zarethan, while the waters flowing down to the sea of the Arabah, the salt sea, was completely cut off. So the people crossed over opposite Jericho. The priests who carried the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord stood firm on dry ground in the middle of the Jordan, while all Israel passed by until the whole nation had completed the crossing on dry ground. 17, yeah.
Thank you. Just hopefully we already have these answers written down because we looked at this for 2 weeks. Let's just quickly go through and see. Question 14, what was the goal before the people? The ark, right? Remember the difference between this and crossing the Red Sea was because Moses and his hand and the staff, remember? So this was different. The big deal of why this would be different is because inside the ark is supposed to be what? The presence of God, right? So God is leading them. So this is a little different from the crossing of the Red Sea. Question 15, describe the manner in which the Jordan was crossed. What made this especially a great miracle? What similar occurrence had taken place 4 years before? That part we already just talked about. But the first two, when Brother David was reading, what was the time of the year? What was the situation with the river? Like, just explain kind of why was this a miracle? Why wasn't this just like a run through a stream of water? Why do we even have to read a chapter about this? What was the physical layout of this Jordan River and the time of the year? And why would this be a big deal that they were able to cross on dry land?
Because that's what the time the water was coming down from the upper streams. Things like that.
Okay. It would be coming from the upper streams, and what else?
The water was over its banks.
The water was flowing over the banks. If anyone grew up near a river, anybody? Because when a river is nothing like a pond or a lake, because like with a river, depending on what you're trying to do in terms of fishing, swimming, or boating, if that river starts rising, some points of the river, if the river starts flowing over the water, over the banks, right? Over the banks, that's why you don't really build things that close. Sometimes when you have a dock, you can see the water line, and then other times you can go out and be like, you can't even see wherever you've seen last night because the water is overflowing. So the point is that this river was so high at this point that it was overflowing the bank. So this is where the miracle kind of comes in. Okay, question 16. What was the purpose of the miraculous crossing? What was the purpose of this?
And to go to the land that God promised him.
Okay, so they were supposed to go through to the land, but how come God didn't just GPS them somewhere else? Like when your GPS says, oh, it's traffic, you want to take another route. Why did he make them go through this river?
Just remind them of who's in charge of his power.
Okay, so God brought them to a situation where there was no way for them to successfully get through except through his strength and his guidance and his power. Sometimes in our lives, we think bad things are happening, but sometimes it's not that bad things are happening in so much as that God is showing you that he wants to be the guiding force of your life. A lot of times we will decide not to do the things that God has laid out for us. And instead, we want to drive our life. And God is saying there's a better way. But when we look at his better way, it seems impossible. So we say, this can't be a better way because there's no way I'm going to get through whatever. Think of something in your mind, right? Financial struggle or physical struggle or whatever. whatever Jordan River is in your life. And God is saying, no, I'm going to make a miracle happen. The problem is, even though we sing, pray, and go to church, very rarely do we in everyday life think in terms of miraculous events, right? But the fact that all of us are here in this congregation here, different walks of life, different age groups, socioeconomics, demographics, and are able to worship in one accord is a miracle in and of itself. But because the world is so physical, we don't think of miracles so much. But God is about to show them chapter to chapter how miraculous he is, from how they get to where they're going, to the walls of Jericho, and then on and on and on again. So sometimes the rough terrain will get you to the miraculous aspects of your life, but you have to go through the terrain. That's the difference, right? When God is showing you like, hey, let's go through this river, and it's a miracle if you go through it. Sometimes we want to say, nah, actually, I'd rather go another way. But a lot of times is if you discount the experience of the miracle, you discount how much stronger you could be. These people's testimony and faith is a lot stronger had they went through the Jordan than if God had brought them another way. God is already God, so he don't need to do miracles to remind himself of who he is, right? Same thing as Sunday morning. God already knows who he is. So worship is a reminder more so for us to say, wow, put our life, our day, our week in a perspective that God is first. So this is important for us to look at a life lesson for today, to think about the times that God may be trying to pull us through the rough terrain of our life and really having something great for us in terms of a miracle that we downplay or discredit because we don't want to go through that experience, right? When you go to the gym, they tell you no pain, no what? Gain. That's just how life is. So when you go through these things that seem difficult, once you go through them, sometimes you'll even experience that the thing that you thought was so difficult really wasn't as difficult. Now, to the outside, people will say, man, I never could have went through that. But when you went through it, you say it actually wasn't that bad. To the outside, if people were looking, say, man, I don't know how y'all going to get through that river. And if I didn't see the miracle with my own eyes and then I seen them on the other side, I would be saying, wow, I don't know how y'all made through the river. But those who went through the river could say it wasn't that bad because it was dry ground. I would say what? Impossible. Right? It's like as if you have some ailment or you go and say, oh man, I don't know how. Oh, actually, I didn't feel any pain in that surgery or in how. Impossible. Because those miraculous things that God is able to do for us, outside looking in, sometimes we can't quantify it. But the testimony for someone to explain it and say, wow, that could spur someone on to want to have a relationship with God, like Rahab had heard about God in the past. So don't discount as you end this year and go into the next year. If we live and Christ doesn't return, don't discount the things that could happen in your life miraculously that you may look at as a negative, that God is maybe mapping things out for you to say, don't walk with your eyes, but walk with faith. Because visibly it looks like this is gearing up to be a bad or difficult situation, but spiritually this is going to be the best thing for you. I think a lot of times as Christians, we don't do the best thing spiritually for ourselves because of how things look or appear physically. We give up on a lot of spiritual blessings because how they appear physically, right? It's like the lady who gave her 2 mites when the collection went by. She gave up physically and knew only thing that she had to rely on now is spiritually. We don't operate that way. Right? We don't give that way. We don't think of blessings that way because we think if I give you 2 mites and not at least keep 1, how would I do X, Y, and Z today or tomorrow? That's walking by sight. But when you walk by faith, you relinquish your hold on physical things, right? That's why Jesus was telling his audience, if you seek first the kingdom and its righteousness, all these other things will be added to you. But you have to buy into that concept. So this is kind of what this is saying in a larger standpoint in terms of a group blessing. Okay, let's turn to chapter 4 and finish this up. Chapter 4, someone read for us verses 1 through 18 of chapter 4. 1 through 18.
It came to pass, all the people crossed over the Jordan. The Lord spoke to Joshua, saying, take for yourselves 12 men from the people, 1 man from every tribe, and command them, saying, take for yourselves 12 stones from here, out of the midst of the Jordan, from the place where the priest's feet stood firm, shall carry them over with you and lead them in the lodging place where you lodge tonight. And Joshua called the 12 men whom he had appointed from the children of Israel, 1 man from every tribe. Joshua said to them, cross over before the ark of the Lord your God into the midst of the Jordan. Each one of you take up a stone on his shoulder to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel. That this may be a sign among you. And your children ask in time to come, saying, what do these stones mean to you? And you shall answer them that the waters of Jordan cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When you cross over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan cut off. These stones shall be for a memorial to the children of Israel. And the children of Israel did so, just as Joshua commanded, and took up 12 stones from the midst of the Jordan, as the Lord had spoken to Joshua according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, and carried them over and took them to the place where they lodged and laid them down there. Then Joshua set up 12 stones in the midst of the Jordan, the place where the feet of the priests who bore the ark of the covenant stood. And they are there to this day. So the priests who bore the ark stood in the midst of the Jordan until everything was finished that the Lord had commanded Joshua to speak to the people, according to all that Moses had commanded Joshua. And the people hurried and crossed over. To what number?
To 18.
18. Then it came to pass, when all the people had completely crossed over at the ark of the Lord, and the priests crossed over in the presence of the people. Then the men of Reuben, the men of God, and half the tribe of Manasseh crossed over on before the children of Israel, as Moses had spoken to them. About 40,000 people were crossed over before the Lord from battle to the plains of Jericho. On that day the Lord exalted Joshua in the sight of Israel, and they feared him as they had feared Moses all the days of his life. Then the Lord spoke to Joshua, saying, command the priests who bear the ark of the testimony to come up from the Jordan. Joshua therefore commanded the priests, saying, come up from the Jordan. And it came to pass, when the priests who bore the ark of the covenant of the Lord had come from the midst of the Jordan, and the soles of his feet touched the dry land, that the waters of the Jordan returned to their place and overflowed all this place as before.
Okay, and the 18 verses that Sister Detrell read, for that entire time, where were the priests? Because in the first verse she read, it said all the people had already crossed over. Where were the priests at in those whole 18 verses? In the middle. So while they were in the middle in these 18 verses that we just read, was the miracle still happening, or was it already overflowed? It was still happening, right? Because the priests were in the middle and in the dry ground. Now it's very interesting because the first question is, in what 2 places were the stones set up? What was the purpose of the stone? First, God spoke to Joshua and told them to take the stones from where? 12 stones should come from where? In the middle, right? Don't just grab 12 stones from anywhere. 12 stones should come from the middle, and in the middle is dry ground at this time, right? Grab the 12 stones, and the 12 stones should represent what? Why 12? Why not 13, 15? For 12 tribes, right? 1 stone for each tribe. And then our question is, it's set up in 2 places. This is verses 8 and 9. What 2 places did they have to set up the stone?
Place where the Lord.
Okay, so one is verse 8. Verse 9. I'll read verse 9 first. Joshua set up 12 stones in the midst of the Jordan, the place where the feet of the priests were, who bore the Ark of the Covenant. And they were there to this day. And then verse 8, the other were set up where? The children of Israel set theirs up where?
Where they lodged.
Where they were, right? Let me reread it. And the children of Israel did so, just as Joshua commanded, and took up 12 stones from the midst of the Jordan, as the Lord had spoke to Joshua according to the number of the tribes, carried them over with them to the place where they lodged, and laid them down there. What was the purpose of the stones? This goes into God speaking in verse 4. Well, actually,
Just a reminder.
Yeah, 3 through 6, basically.
Just a reminder that the Jordan was cut off.
And God is saying that who would ask them? Oh, the kids will say what? What's the big deal of these stones, right? And it would be a reminder, and they would go in and say, what?
That God, the miracle that God did to get them over there.
Yep, let's reread verse 7. Then you shall answer them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it crossed over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off, and these stones shall be for a memorial to the children of Israel for how long? Forever. Okay, let's get into question 18. Compare these stones with Passover with respect to its purpose. What's the Passover? Let's go back to Exodus. After the last plague is about to happen in Egypt, and the last plague is death to the firstborn. They're supposed to dress a certain way. They were supposed to put the blood on their doorposts. They were supposed to eat and cook a certain way. Why? What was the concept? Passover, because the death angel was about to come and do what?
Kill all the firstborn.
It would pass over the houses with the blood, and it would kill the firstborn who didn't have the blood, right? So all the food, all the preparation as they went from year to year was to remind them that death, the same miraculous event brought death to some, but life to others, right? That's the concept, that the death angel passed over our house, but it brought death to others. That's the one concept. Lord's Supper, Jesus established on a night in which he was betrayed, right? The concept was what? That sacrifice that Jesus gave brought death to himself, but brought life to everyone who believed, right? That's the concept. Death, because death is coming. So it don't matter what you feel about it. Death angel was coming, whether you were Israelite or Egyptian. The only solace was if you did what God asked in preparation, the death angel wouldn't come to your house. Death was coming. Didn't matter if you were a human being or you're Jesus Christ. It was that the sacrifice was that Jesus would take the punishment for it. But death was coming. That's just how it is. Life and death are intertwined. So that sacrifice brought death to Jesus, but it brought life to us. So in remembering the Passover, forget the people who were the first in Exodus who did the Passover. Everyone afterwards, when they dressed a certain way, even to this day, eat a certain food, sit down and tell this story to their family, it reminds them of when the death angel was passing over, what God did for them. When we every week partake of the Lord's Supper and Jesus said, hey, do this in remembrance of me, it reminds us of this concept of Jesus giving himself for us, right? This is, okay, God is doing this on our behalf, and this is the blessing in which we have, right? So how do we compare that with these stones? Kind of these three situations tie this in. Because just like with the stones, let's just use the kids, or you can use friends, family, or visitors, but somebody's going to ask, what's up with these stones? Like if you have something in your house that looks like a memorial, people are going to say kind of what's up with whatever, right? Same thing with Passover. If you go over to a Jewish family's house during Passover, you're going to ask kind of, why are we doing this? Same thing what happens here on Sunday morning. Sometimes kids or friends and family may say, why are we doing this? How do these three things tie in?
The same miracle that God did all three times so that we could always remember it was him, not anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Good, right? So the concept should be the explanation that we use. This is where I want us to think about when people ask us about Lord's Supper. Are we explaining like this? Because what Ruby said is much like verse 7 is talking about the miraculous thing that took place, not about the actual stones, right? It's not about the actual juice or the crackers. It's about the concept of a miraculous event, right? So it's not about when the kids are asking what's up with these stones. It's not about the physical stones. It's about the fact that the Bible very specifically said that the Jordan River had them cut off, right? And that without access through this river, there was no way to get to the promise. Oh, so a kid say, ooh, that sounds interesting. And then God had the water rise up and it was dry ground. And just like a miracle, we were able to walk right through on dry ground, unscathed and unhurt. But I feel like in modern times, when people say, even kids, hey, what's this juice and this cracker? So people say, oh, that's for adults. Is that interesting to a kid? Right? Like, or do you take the time to explain to that child is, oh, we're remembering a miracle. Oh, kids. What's a miracle? Oh, I'm glad you asked. A miracle was all humanity was cut off from God. And he sent his only son to die so that we could live. So he sacrificed himself for us. So every week we remember so we never forget. Sounds great. Yeah, when you get older and you're able to discern right from wrong, then you can decide, hey, I want to remember that too. See, a lot of times when you downplay those spiritual things, it doesn't give the foundation for the seed of someone to want to be involved. But when you start talking to kids like, oh, this is not for you, this is for adults. Like people do with alcohol. Oh, this is adult juice. Don't drink that. Oh, okay, sorry. Like we don't get kids involved. So now we make it seem like, well, you know, the adults are doing this. But God didn't say raise your kids that way. Because remember all the way in Deuteronomy what he said. You're supposed to tell your kids about this law all day long. But the law is kind of hard. Why would I as a parent want to teach my kid all this about what Deuteronomy is talking about? See, that's why we always have to see things the way God said. Just because you have a kid around church don't mean they're in church. What are you doing at your house? People say, oh man, why my kid don't want to be involved in church? I don't know. Why your kid don't? It's like asking why your kid don't want to take a shower. Just because I come around y'all and y'all all shower don't mean I want to take a shower. Somebody have to instill in Ellis that, sweetheart, when you leave the house, you need to have a shower. Why? Because every human being on earth shower. That's how, I don't want to be the only kid without a shower. Yeah, you're going to be smelling it. Flies going to be flying around you and they're going to make fun of you at school. Oh, I don't want that. But without that, just osmosis won't make me say, oh, I should have a shower just because everyone else showered. It doesn't work that way. Foundation have to be, this is what we're doing. That's why I say all the time and encourage people, especially those who have family. You need to establish a family lineage. See, rich people establish a lineage. Kids don't have no choice. Rich people. They say, oh, dad say, oh, you're going to be this or this thing and that thing. I want to be an artist. I want to be a photographer. Nope, sorry, you doing this thing because even since 10 generations, we've been this thing. Right? Look at England. Royal family. Oh, I want to be a what? No, I want to, no, sorry. You a prince or a princess. Why? Well, we've been princes and princesses since forever. In your home, you should establish a spiritual precedent. In this house, we're Christian. Oh, I don't want to be a Christian. I want to be a, oh, sorry. We're Christians here. Oh, okay, we Christian. Because see, if you establish that as a kid, once kids start to get older and someone say, hey, let's go do something else, you know what kids say? Oh, we Christians at my house. And other people say, what is that? Oh, Christians. I don't know what is that. My parents said we are Christian. But that's from a foundation. But if you think, let me just bring my kids around a Christian environment and hope by osmosis they'll want to be a Christian, no, it does not work that way. You have to set a precedent for your last name. That's why I maintain all the time. Mothers and fathers, you should be so busy putting your last name first, you shouldn't have no time to worry about no one else. You should worry about those people walking earth that share the same DNA as you. I don't have no kids. So when I wake up, guess how many people I got to worry about? Ellis. But if I had kids and grandchildren, I shouldn't be worrying about them. I don't understand people who have kids and grandkids worrying about the whole earth except their last name. Worry about yourself. Worry about your own kids. Isn't that what Moses' father-in-law said? When he brought him, said what? Hey, man, you're doing a lot of great things, but what about these snot-nosed kids you left me with? Oh, forgot I'm a dad. Yeah, come on, bro. Be a dad. Commandments and all that sound cute, but what about these kids? Who's supposed to raise these kids? Me as a grandfather? No. So this concept of reminding the children, that comes from you as a parent, not from Joshua. You can't say, hey, Joshua, why we put these stones up again? No. Joshua say, look, I got my own kids. I'm reminding my kids. Everyone has a responsibility to set the precedent that we are children of God. We are different than those other people. That's why when you have kids, you should sit them down as babies when they first come out the womb. And you should tell them every day, we are nothing like the people outside, nothing like them. It's almost like we're aliens. Nothing. Don't ever be anything like people at school. And the kids will grow up and say, oh man, my mom said, don't ever be like them. You know how the other day, I was with a friend. This little kid was there. You know kids when they want to play and don't eat. Right? Kids, when it's time to eat, they order everything, the food comes. Who ordered that food? You wanted that food. Grilled cheese come. I don't want grilled cheese. Okay, now you don't want a grilled cheese. You know what I did? Oh, can I have a little piece of your grilled cheese? Yeah, let me see. Oh, whoo, man, this is, ooh. And what the kids' eyes do. Big, ooh, man, this, Did you taste that yet? Ooh, this grilled cheese. Ooh, this is the best grilled cheese I ever had. Man, I should have ordered a grilled cheese. Next time, I'm going to order a grilled cheese sandwich. I want to have, oh, you want some grilled cheese too now? Look, have some of this grilled cheese. Ate the whole sandwich. Do I have kids? That ain't my kid. I don't care if that kid eat grilled cheese sandwich or not. That's that person's child. You put forth the energy, kids will do whatever you, oh, how do my kid don't want to do homework, don't want to, what? It's very easy to mold people. That's why God called us sheep. But if you don't put forth any leadership or authority or effort, you know what kids gonna do? Raise themselves. And I can promise you, if you let me raise me, I'm never eating peas, carrots, broccoli, or none of that other stuff. Don't ask me what I want to eat. I want to eat candy. But we have to put forth a precedent. God is saying it's not enough for the miracle to happen to the adults. You have to remind the kids so that the kids who didn't physically see the miracle would still be just as excited about the miracle as the adults. Amen. That's how church should be. You should be setting a precedent saying, you got to hype church up like it's Christmas, where kids say, oh, I want to go to church. That way, by the time they come to teenage years, now they say, oh, if someone say, let's go somewhere, man, I can't do that because I got out of church. Oh, what's church? But it's already a part of it. No different than family time. Some families have different holidays where you can't miss. Right? Some families say Thanksgiving or Christmas or Easter, whatever it is. I don't care if you deployed somewhere else on another planet. You got to come back to Earth on this day because grandma or granddad said this is the day. Rain, sleet, or snow. Don't go to nobody else's family house. That's the family precedent. And those kids, as they grow up, do what? They tell boyfriends, girlfriends, husband, wife, look, man, I can't because we got to go here. Oh, man, really? Because a precedent was our family does. Church should be the same way. This is what our family does. Oh, no fair. So you said, no, let's sit down. Let's talk about fear. Fear was when death was coming to everyone. Death. Turn the lights off. Ooh, kids scared. Well, it's the death. I'm scared. Yeah, death was coming. And then, life. Turn the lights back on. Ooh, light. I'm happy now. Yeah, see how you happy now? Turn the lights back off. Death. Ooh, I'm not. Let's turn the lights back on. Light. Ooh, see, we got to go to church because we with the light. We not with the death. Okay, let's go to church now. That is, come on, stop this. Don't put forth no energy. You're going to let that kid say, well, I don't want that grilled cheese sandwich. Now, who got to pay for that grilled cheese sandwich, whether they eat it or not? Ain't like y'all can say, oh, so get that money from them. They the one who didn't eat that. I ate for my food, so here go my money. No. Adults got to pay. So I figure you might as well eat that food. Because somebody got to pay for that bill. If you don't have no money to contribute to bills, you don't have no say-so. That's how I feel. So you sit down and eat that grilled cheese sandwich like the rest of us at the table. I can't run up and down and play on the aisle and run through the table, so neither can you. Sit down. Same concept with this. I can't do whatever I want to do as an adult. Neither can you. So as a child, you got to remember with these stones that we were cut off. We had no way except through God's miraculous event. And when the kid understand that from a youth, when they become an adult, it becomes a part of who they are. It's like culture. Church is very much like culture. When you raise a child up, if you take a kid from Harlem as a baby and put them in Nashville, and you take a baby from Nashville and put them in Harlem, you're not going to tell me, well, just because the baby was born in Harlem, they're going to eat, drink, dress, and like a certain kind of music. No. When you bring that kid back to the cousin, the kids in Harlem going to say, why are you talking like that? I grew up in Nashville. Nashville come back and say, why are you talking like that? You're from Nashville. I grew up in Harlem. Because what happened? Culture. And people in Nashville told that Harlem kid, did you live in Nashville? This is how Nashville people live. This is how we eat, talk, drink. Same thing. So now wherever you go, you're going to bring Nashville culture. Because you're going to say, I grew up in Nashville. I don't know, Harlem. I mean, maybe my family from Harlem, but I only know Nashville. Church should be the same way. You should bring church everywhere. Say, what you doing? You do? I grew up in church. I don't know what you're talking about. In church, we eat this way, drink this way, we dress this way, we do this on certain days. What y'all talking about? It's a culture. It becomes a lifestyle so that as an adult, you have something that you can permeate through your life. But if you just bring people around it by osmosis, you just visit Nashville every once in a while, you don't adopt Nashville culture. You have to breathe that culture in and make it a part of you. Then people say, oh, I know you from Nashville. How you know? I can tell by the way you talk, the way you dress, the way you eat certain things, the music you like. But just because you know what people do in Nashville don't mean you're from Nashville. Same thing with church. And it starts that way from kids. If just because kids know about church doesn't mean that they're actually buying into the concept of church. Okay, a couple of hints from Erica and then whoever else had their name.
So one of the things that I find significant about the verse 6 is the way that it's worded. What do these stones mean to you, right? And so I think what we've done in terms of just the progression of the church is we replace storytelling with activity. And we know in the New Testament it says faith without works is dead, right? And so you have to have faith and you have to have works. We are so busy doing that sometimes we forget that faith is not built on activity. You can do all these things for God and not have the faith that he wanted in these instances. And I think for young people, we give them so much to do, but we don't necessarily, I think that a lot of times adults, particularly parents, vulnerable in telling their story. And so in Revelations, when it says we will overcome by the power of our testimony, let's think about what that means, right? God in this instance, as well as so many other instances in the Bible, he does the activity. We just retell what God has done for us. Sometimes I think we are trying to do so much that we forget God is in charge of building faith. That's why I love the scripture that says Jesus is the author and finisher of our faith, meaning he's writing the story of faith. And he's going to finish that thing, not only collectively, right, like the story of faith in all of our lives in terms of him on the cross, but I feel in Hebrews chapter 11, it teaches us that God is giving us individual faith building stories. This is one of them. And so I just think that for all of us, there's such a large responsibility to get back to telling the story of what God has done. Nothing, like none of us can say that we in ourselves can do anything to God has done. And I think that that's what Paul was trying to get a lot of Christians to understand too, right? Like it's a free gift. None of us have done anything, but we get so caught in the act of doing things that we forget God has done everything. So telling this story to your kids goes back to who was the person who did it. That's why the stone had to come from the middle. Because if it came from either shore, I could say I did that. Effort in that. I could say I just bent down and grabbed it. But when you say that stone came from the middle, where that water could have swallowed me up, so I know it wasn't me. Some people were tall, some people were short. We all could not have made it to that point. That's a completely different thing. So I think for all of us in 2018, just thinking about the stories we tell young people, and we're all younger than somebody else. So it's important to get back to what has God done in your life that you could not have done in the middle for you. What does that mean to you? And if we shut our mouths up about that type of stuff, then the church will continue to dwindle. Because young people don't really care about activities. Let's be honest, right? Like you and I both know, you can go to college and those activities meant nothing to you. What really made some sense to you is that thing that someone said and you're like, wow, I remember such and such sister said, you know, she was praying because she had cancer. And it was only because of God that, right? A youth rally isn't going to save anybody. You may get saved at a youth rally, but that activity, that's not the thing that, that's the game changer. The game changer is the faith you build while you're doing those things.
That's why it's always important to have content, right? Like, especially from a college example, is people go to events, college for free food. I don't know what you're talking about this week. I just ate, right? So that's why when you start doing youth activities in church, it need to have a Devo, because no adult can outfun a child. Them things you thinking is fun, kids is thinking like, no, this is corny. Stop. Oh, we're gonna do this, and the kids like, here we go. When you excited as a parent, look in your rearview mirror. You excited talking about what you, and them kids looking like, so what? Why? Why do we have? Because you there. So you don't think, oh, I'm gonna play in this. No, it's not. But when you start talking about truth, that concept is what will permeate into their mind. Don't just be doing activities to do activities. And then when you look at her other point about the stones meaning something to you, holiday time, people about to give gifts. But what does that gift mean to you, right? New Year's Eve, people going to get fresh. And it's a lot of dresses, women. But a woman feel like, look, this when I put this dress on me, I might go out and 10 other women have this dress. We talk about when it's on me, though. When it's on me, it's like what? Red carpet. Now, the other 10 women, they may have the same dress, but they're not going to be able to wear it like me. Oh, okay. See? That's the concept. I can't be worried about what somebody else got. That's where 1 Corinthians said the message of the cross, it could be foolishness. The same message could be foolishness to one person, but life. Someone say, oh, this is a whack gift. Somebody else say, let me see. Oh, child, let me see that gift. This nasty grilled cheese. Let me see. I'm hungry. I'll take that grilled cheese. Right? Our relationships like that. This guy is annoying. Oh, let me see. He's not annoying to me. Let me see. Oh, okay. Hello, that's how life works. So some people feel like, oh, you know, this job whack. Oh, let me see. I need a job. Let me see this whack job. I'll take this whack job. This car's stupid. Let me see this stupid car. That's how life works. So it's all based off of how do these impact your life. That's why I make a big deal about worship to you. People always telling me about church. What about church for yourself? What do you? To you. Worshiping, singing, church. Are you happy to go to church, right? What do heaven mean to you? Maybe you say, I don't want to go to heaven. I don't know. I can only talk from my point of view. But when we don't share our testimony, it's just like kids saying, hey, mommy and daddy, how did you meet? But when you got little kids, especially babies, and they looking for a story, tell them a story. Hey, let me tell you the story about how mommy and daddy got saved. Wow, what's saved? Ooh, let's talk about saved. Ooh, let's just saved. Sounds like a good story. Oh, child's the best story I know. You reading them all of this nonsense that when they get older, do they want to hear them nonsense stories? No. You say, this is parents love this. Oh, you know, let me read this. I used to read this when you kid. Oh, this is stupid. No, come on. You used to love it. Yeah, when I was 3. No, let me read this. Nobody want to hear them old stories you done dust off from the attic, but you tell somebody the old story. Hey, how did our family become Christians? Oh, good. I'm glad you asked that. Well, great-great-grandfather met this. See, that's a story that goes on from generation to generation. Red Riding Hood is no kid, no teenager want to hear Red Riding Hood read to them before they go to sleep. Oh, mom, read me Red Riding Hood. Let me see. I'm just like you used to. No, I don't care nothing about no Red Riding Hood. You like that as a parent. Teach them something that they can hold on to, or they can be like, wow, right, so you mean we were this way and now we're that way? Exactly. That's what these kids would say. Oh, you mean we were doomed and then we were saved? Yes, and that's how you got here. Because if we didn't cross through, or if the death angel didn't pass over, you wouldn't be here to hear this story. I like this story. This story impacts me. Red Riding Hood don't impact me, though, do it? I mean, I'm not in the woods. Or the 3 bears, and well, I don't know bears that got houses. How that impact me? I need stories that's going to impact me, how Ellis lives. That's what this is talking about, lineage. So when you have family time, especially, I'm telling you, those of you who are parents or grandparents, aunts or uncles, you sit younglings down and say, hey, let's talk about these real life things and teach them. Hey, this is how we are as a family. We're nothing like this lost generation out here. We're like this way. We be nice to people regardless. We try to do the right thing. We put God first. Always be respectful. Turn your TV on. Do it sound like people need to have heard that as a kid? Yes. Sounds like every time I turn the TV on, a lot more young men should have been told how to be respectful. But you feel, well, they'll just learn it just by what? Where are they going to learn to be respectful at? At school? School going to teach them how to be respectful? Are you kidding me? Oh, but you busy. I'm working. I'm doing this or that. Or people be telling me, oh, it's hard out here with kids. You don't understand. The girls trip or a guy's trip. What? A girls' night or a guy's night. Right. Go have your girls' night and your guy's night or whatever you're doing. Who's going to raise your kids? This world? You're going to let this world raise your kid? Because if you let this world raise your kid, they're going to raise criminals and terrorists. People that's going to terrorize the neighborhood. If you let the world raise them, you be responsible for your DNA. Worry about the kids who you created. We don't even got to get graphic to when you made them kids, so you be responsible for them. God is saying, share the blessing that I gave to you with your children. Don't treat it as a cutoff. Remember when Jesus was like, don't treat the little kids that way. The little kids should be here just like the adults are here. Because y'all need to be innocent like them. That's what Jesus was trying to teach them. Okay, this was a good discussion. Next week, we are going to look at lesson 2, which is the actual conquering of Canaan. So if you could be so kind to read ahead into chapter 5, and that's where we will go into next week. So if you could read into chapter 5, that would be good. Next week, we'll start on this lesson 2. All right, let's end in a word of prayer, and then we'll transition into worship. Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful and blessed day. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to study a portion of your word this morning. We ask that you allow us to be more focused on the structure of our families and being able to focus on those spiritual things and passing down those spiritual blessings of lineage from generation to generation, telling the gospel to friends, family, and visitors all around us. We ask that you continue to bless us in our knowledge and understanding and wisdom of your word. Thank you for the sacrifice that was given on our behalf. Be with those that are traveling at this time without the loss or harm of any as we transition into worshiping you. Pray that our worship service is done in spirit and in truth, sweet smelling aroma to thy throne room. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Thank you for all of our Bible readers and those that have comments. Much appreciated.